remember, but what I remember, like where I got send it from, was like YouTube videos of, like guys at the top of cliffs that built their own ramps and just their friends, screaming, "Send it!" And then they
There was
like
a
do some
guy.
jackass
There
trick
was a
off the
guy. Oh my God, it's coming.
off the.
There was a did snowmobiles, and he would jump it, and he had like a really nice mullet, and he'd say, "I'm still gonna send it,"
I think that's what I remember.
and he.
I'm
I
still gonna
don't
send it.
remember
Yeah.
in his videos if it ever went well. I think it all. I think he always wrecked. And you laugh when he wrecks, but then you're like hoping that he
Still
hits
gonna
it at
send it
least
though.
one time. You're like, dang man, this guy really needs to hit one video. You know,
Yeah.
so we're recording
Yeah.
just whenever.
Yeah, man, I remember those. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, let's just lead us off.
Go ahead, man.
I
It's
still
all
have to
good.
do the countdown in my head.
You
It's
can
the
do it
only
out
way for me
loud.
to do it. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hello, everybody. We're back at it again at the Wandering Home podcast. If you can't tell by my voice, I'm Tyler.
So
And the guy who's not talking is Kevin. What's up, Kevin? So we're back again today in the next of a series of content where we're going over some of the blog articles that are on the website. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's like way more than a dozen articles that Kevin has written, and they're pretty interesting. We sort of teased it out at the last episode, right, Kevin? But just give us the 30-second
yeah, it's
what you're writing and
basically,
how you're writing
I
it
was a pastor
for
for
everybody
10
out there.
years. So this has been kind of an outlet for me. I think teaching and preaching was an outlet at one time. And so now it's, not having that outlet, I just started writing. And dude, you just went over the top on me. Got that cat backwards, dude.
Yeah,
Have you ever watched that movie?
yeah,
Over the Top? Oh my God, we got to watch that movie.
no,
It's got Rocky in it, dude. He's
I don't know what it
doing
is.
arm wrestling. I grew up in Alabama. That was a big, yeah.
Rocky?
Sylvester Stallone, he's in it. He's got to turn his cat backwards every time he
Yeah,
wins,
who's that?
and then he's in it, like before he goes to arm wrestle. Yeah, sorry, that just distracted me. When I saw it, I was like instantly thought of Over the Top.
Yeah,
It's a great movie. It's probably
I
not
can't
as
wait to see
good.
it.
Well, I can't say that. It's
Okay.
at least top 5 all time. Won a few Oscars.
No, okay, all right. We can't get into this. People are going
At
to start
least
to say,
you got
what the
Over the
hell are these
Top, The
guys talking about? So
Godfather.
let's reel it back in.
You know,
All right, look. Anyway, let's do this episode, man. It's about a 20-minute talk. Today we're gonna go through a blog post that's all about choosing your team, and I'm talking about faith, not anything else. So
yeah. So
tell
I
us about
was
the article, Kevin.
kind of thinking about how I picked my sports teams, and I didn't really mean to do this, but somehow I was wearing an Alabama hoodie when we started this, and I was like, "Holy crap, I'm wearing an Alabama hoodie!" But like anybody, most people, my teams were kind of picked before I was ever born. You know what I mean? It was just it is what it is. I'm from Alabama, North Alabama. Most people are Alabama fans. It just kind of my dad took me to Alabama games when I was a kid. So it just kind of was what it was
Yeah,
in the blog.
bro. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, even when you're fan, like my dad went to Miami. I grew up, and it was like you can do whatever you want, but it's orange and green until the day that you don't screw around with me. Like, I could not have the
Oh, yeah.
option
Or
to
Florida.
even play like I liked
Yeah.
Florida State or
That
Florida. Like,
people are
it was
way more
over with.
serious
Yeah.
about that than my family because we weren't really that big. I mean, we love football, obviously, but my mom and dad weren't like the biggest Alabama fans, but growing up in a community, it was huge. I mean, when you are in Alabama, you pick Alabama or Auburn, no matter what school you went to. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't go to either one of those schools, people still have, a team
Yeah.
in this state. And you know,
That's funny. Dude, I like to tell people this story.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when I
yeah.
first moved to Alabama, and we're going to get to what this is all about, right? It's about how similar to a sports team, your faith is kind of like predetermined by your parents and your family. And we're going to talk through, it's a short article, but, we're going to bullshit and we're also going to talk about, what the point is. But in the ways of bullshit, I like to tell people this story. When I first moved to Alabama, I was selling cars, and I was selling cheap cars at high prices at like gouge your eye out interest rates. Okay. I was just happy to have a job. And I learned really, really quickly. A guy walked up to me. It was a Saturday morning. He said, "Who do you go for?" I said, "Well, I'm from Miami. I root for Miami." And he just looked at me with a blank stare and he said, "Well, yeah, well, who do you go
Yeah.
for?"
It didn't
And what he was
matter that you
asking
were
me
a
is
Miami.
Alabama or Auburn. Except he didn't think that he needed to put any other words or context into that. It was just very, and I've heard it over and over the years. I've been in Alabama for 10 years. I've heard people ask other people it the same way. Who do you go for? And on the receiving end of that, the person just knows
Yep.
the
Yeah,
response is either
it is
Alabama or
it runs
Auburn.
deep like that, and as a kid too, and this is something that I talked about in the article as well, but as a kid, another allegiance, and in my home, this was even deeper than football, was baseball, and it was Braves baseball. And you rooted for the Braves. I mean, my grandfather watched every, yep,
I got the Braves jersey in the
there it
back right
is.
now.
Got Jonesy back there.
I put Chip right next to Andrew,
Heck
but
yeah, dude.
that's a 96
Yeah, I
World
was at
Series
that
jersey
series.
signed by Andrew Jones.
My grandfather he had cancer, and my dad was like, we gotta take him. We have to take him. And so got tickets and went to that series. And I think it was game 3. It was awesome. It's incredible. It's something,
Yep. It says game
it might have
2
been
on the blog
game 2.
post, Kevin. So which one
Yeah.
is it? Game 2 or game 3?
Yeah, you just called me out on that.
Okay.
You know what's funny? My brothers are going to
I'm
be
just sitting. It's right
especially my
here in
older
front of me.
brother. He's going to be pissed that I didn't remember that game, like which game it was. Like seriously pissed.
Kenny?
No, but man, like we were die
Wow.
hard, and he was definitely. I mean, you know what's so crazy, man, is as a kid, I can remember the lineup. Like I can remember every position. You know what I mean? Like which is insane. I remember,
Me too. Yeah.
the whole bullpen. I mean, which is insane to think about, but yeah, that was just a time that's kind of burned into my brain, mainly because my grandfather was just such a huge Braves fan that every time, I mean, we were over there every afternoon, and every single game that was on, we were watching Braves baseball with him and my grandmother. But one thing that he taught me, dude, well, there was two things he taught me: love the Braves and hate the Yankees, man. And it was, I think they were both equally as strong, but my grandfather absolutely hated the Yankees, like hated the Yankees. And so, as a kid,
Yeah.
obviously, as a kid, you think Derek Jeter is like, I mean, he's a stud, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah,
never
that's an
could really
understatement.
root for him or be happy for his successes because we were we were Braves fans, and you just do not root for the Braves. I tell you what's really crazy too. My grandfather hated one Braves player too, and that was Jeff Blauser. He hated Blauser, absolutely hated Blauser.
Why?
And later on, Blauser actually went to the Yankees,
Okay.
and my
Some
grandfather hated
personal
him even
thing.
more.
I can just imagine your grandpa that has like steam coming
I
out of his
think
ears and his face is all
every
red and all
player
that.
gets
All
the
that.
yips every now and then. You know what I mean? And I think Blauser, obviously, he's playing. At that time, he was playing short, right? Because Chip's on
For a ball.
third,
Yep.
and
What's on? Who's on first?
it's a crime dog, right? Fred McGriff.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, I know.
Let's look it up. Actually, we don't have time for this, Kevin.
Sorry, but
Okay.
anyways, he's in a
So
position where he's
let's
getting a
stay
lot of balls,
focused.
and
Sorry, it's me. I'm the
he made a
worst.
few plays, and my grandfather just could not stand it. He could not stand Jeff Blauser. Anyway, whole point of this is that those are things that are kind of baked into your brain. I mean, this is what it is from a really young age. But I was thinking one day, I was like, man, we really choose our religions and affiliations in the same way that we choose our sports teams. Yeah, the way we view
Same way
politics,
we do
like,
politics most of
how
the time,
much
you know?
are we really questioning and searching for the answers to these big questions that we should have? I mean, we definitely should have questions about faith. And are we just like taking the people before us word for it? You know what I mean?
Dude, I feel like it's hard because when you're a kid, it's like a curriculum, right? Like you know what they're going to teach your kids like before they're 10 about the Bible cuz like what can you digest? But then like I don't really remember. I guess when I was like 16 or so is like the first time where I started to think like, well, this church that I'm going to is kind of strange and I'm not really sure. Like, but I was never like, I'm going to leave that church. I don't agree with it. Like, really exploring how I felt about faith. And I'm wondering, like, you've been a youth pastor and all that. Like, when about does that start
Yeah, it was
happening?
definitely, yeah,
Like,
it
was it
was.
earlier than 15 for you? Like, are most kids
Well,
like
for
in
me, it was
college
way
before they
early.
start to think about it?
I mean, I remember asking my parents, like, why should I believe this way? And I was like, if I was raised Buddhist, like, if I just believed because you believed, then based off of our faith, I would be wrong. And if I wasn't questioning it, I would never come to the truth. So, I was always thinking like that. I would say there are kids, man, all over the spectrum on this, like youth age, that some are questioning. No, 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 no.
Not kids on the spectrum, but like,
Yeah, the spectrum of
there's,
faith, like,
that's what,
it's, like
yeah,
some
it's
kids
faith
just don't
spectrum.
even really think about it. Some don't question, they just take it at face value and move on with life. Others are questioning it. And
Yeah.
I always really I was happy when a kid was questioning it and would, give them resources for,
Yeah.
studying and because I always felt like doubt and questioning was a time for growth. It was always a time to deepen your roots in what you believe
Yeah.
and really find out what you believe. Like, you know, the truth is never afraid of questions. You know what I mean? Like, if you
Yeah.
truly believe
Yeah.
what you believe is the truth, then you have no worries about questioning things because you're going to come to the realization of that it's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just had a there's this movie and Will Ferrell makes a cameo in it
Oh,
and
that's great.
he's working at a mattress firm like selling mattresses and and he's got a tattoo on his neck and he shows the guy and he's like, see this? And it's like in Mandarin, he's like, it stands for make reasonable choices. And I don't know why, but
Well,
that's what I got
that's a
reminded
good
of when you
slogan,
were
you know?
I remember when I was a kid, like I remember pretty young actually, and I've been going to therapy or whatever, so I've been thinking about my childhood. I remember asking my mom like, do I need to close my eyes when I pray? That was probably like the youngest, like most naive thing, I'm sure I was really little. And then I remember having questions like, do I have to come here every week? Why do we do
Yeah.
Sunday morning and Sunday night? Does God get mad
Yeah.
at us when we skip church? Like I remember things like that. But I cannot remember until I was grown up and basically fell out of church having like my own opinion about how I think this or that and that's why I feel like you touch on the article about parenthood and kind of like the idea that, this is sort of a thing that happens and you're not, it's important I think for parents to sort of pass down, but I think there's a difference between faith and like
Yeah.
church as a community, and that's like where I've landed, like in adulthood, like I don't feel like I need to go to church every, do all of the church things. If I really liked the people in my church, maybe I would more, but like I'm nothing as far as my, eternal,
Yeah.
my
I
salvation.
think
Like I know
that
I'm in the clear,
sometimes we as parents, and I'm
you
speaking
know?
this because I have kids, I think
Yeah.
one of the biggest challenges is not being able to say you don't know the answer. Like sometimes you don't know the answer. That's just what it is. Sometimes you hadn't thought in the way that your kid is asking. And I think the problem
Yeah.
that sometimes parents do
Yeah.
is they try to either bullshit through the answer or they shut the question down. Like, whoa, we don't question that. We don't talk about that. I don't think that either one of those are good answers to a question. You know what I mean? I think the right thing to do is to say,
Yeah.
man, I don't really know. If you don't know, or if you've studied it and you know it and you
Yeah.
have, your evidence and why you believe it, then it's great. It's a wonderful time to sit down with the kid and walk through what the faith is and what you believe.
Yeah.
But always, what was you about to say?
I wonder, sorry, go ahead. Well, I just it keeps coming in my mind. I wonder if it's like an identity thing as a kid. Like maybe that's why we don't really question it too much. Like I remember as a kid, right? Now, just for everybody at home, I come from like a lineage of pastors and pastors all over the family and all Southern Baptist. And like I said, we did church in every single way that you could possibly think about being involved in the church. But like as a kid and even up until adulthood, I would have just told you I was Southern Baptist. Whether I truly was aligned to that or not, I couldn't tell you. But I think what's really interesting is that in adulthood, I feel like it's more often I hear people say something like, "I grew up Southern Baptist, but now I go to a Methodist church," or "I grew up Catholic, but," like, what's the break point? Like, where at what age does that happen? Because it seems like we all transition from like that inherited faith as an identity into like,
Yeah, that's a
well,
great
I
point.
did
I mean,
that,
dude,
and now I'm kind of this
I
way.
was a Baptist, Southern Baptist, for majority of my life, and then recently converted to Catholicism. And what's so crazy is when people hear that, they're like, "What? Like, why would you do that?" Like almost like they would have been okay if I had always been Catholic, but like you know, being a Southern Baptist, growing up in a Southern Baptist home, and then becoming Catholic, it just all of a sudden like blows their mind. And I tell you what's crazy, man. I always had parents. My parents were they allowed us to open think, which was, I think, a huge gift, you know, from my parents. And they
Yeah,
never like slammed the door on a question and they were really good about saying, like, if I ask a question, they would say, buddy, I don't know, let's figure that out, or, trying to find resources for that. But even when I became Catholic, as a 40 or 39-year-old man, my parents were like really supportive of it, and, they didn't find it offensive that, I was changing, you know, face or, I'm still Christian, obviously, but no, they were really supportive. And I think that was it made me very thankful to have the parents that I have that have always been open with that. And, I've always tried to be that way with my kids to
yeah,
allow them to not constrain them in it. You know what I mean? Not, not make them choose their team, but really focus on why they believe their faith and understand it from their perspective and study it out and find the truth. I'm not worried about my kids finding the truth. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the way you get there is you're asking questions. Jesus said that knock, right?
yeah,
And the door will be open. Seek and you're going to find. Yeah, there's something you have to do to find it, and that's to seek. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be questions that arise in order for you to get to the truth. And I don't know, I think sometimes we squash that, but what I really wanted to, spark in the ideas of people when if they read the blog was, maybe why do you believe what you believe? You know, like really, why do you believe it? Do you believe it because your parents believed it? Do you believe it because your grandparents believed it? But why do you believe it? You know, has it become your faith?
Yeah.
And, do you have questions? Do you have doubts?
Yeah.
And are you searching those out? Are you pulling the thread on that and trying to, are you just kind of okay with that, and maybe some people are, and maybe that's okay for them. For me, it was never okay for me. You know what I mean?
I mean, how do you really do it though? I mean, like, I guess you moved to Catholicism, and I'm curious, like, if it was a book or like what it was that sparked it from you. Like, for me, right, a transplant to Alabama, not really knowing a ton of people. I have a church that I'm a part of, but I'm not super active. Like, I have questions about my faith, but where do I go? Because I don't feel comfortable going to the lead pastor, and I'm not in a Bible study. And it feels kind of awkward. While, hey, Kevin, what's going on? Hey, I've been thinking, just like drop some kind of like faith bomb
I
on
think
them,
definitely
on a random
community
person. So what
of
do you think?
like-minded people that are thinking that way. I think it'd be good to have a relationship with your pastor who is somebody that's willing to take those questions, not get afraid of questions or mad when someone is asking questions. For me, it's crazy, man. You were like asking what was kind of the catalyst for me changing. I remember when I was 16 years old, there was one Catholic church in our county, and the quarterback on our football team was Catholic, and he was getting confirmed. He was a year younger than me, and I went to his confirmation, and that was the first time I'd ever been to a Catholic church. And from then on, I had always had a draw to the church, which is crazy to say, but there was something about it that was different. The liturgy,
Yeah.
there was something sacred about it. And, I came back, and of course, being Southern Baptist, I didn't feel like I could just go at that time, which is crazy. I didn't feel like I could go to that church, to that parish. And uh, so I just kept being Southern Baptist, but there was something drawing me to the church. And then later, I joined the service. And, while I was in basic training AIT, and then when I went overseas, what's crazy is I went to mass every church service that I went to. I didn't go to the Protestant church just because there was something that was intriguing me about it, and I wanted to know more. And I don't even know how to describe that, and um there it was sparking questions about communion and about the priesthood, and you know, then I become a pastor, and obviously now I can't, pull that thread and question it. And so it
Yeah.
wasn't until I stepped out of ministry that was when I really started diving into that. And that's where I found my home.
Yeah. All right, man. So if anybody wants to read this, go on the blog. If you catch our videos, we'll make sure to have links to the posts so you can check it out. It's wicked short. I think we covered it in great enough detail, Kevin. I have one more closing thought. I do, I'm in marketing. For the people who don't know, I do marketing for work, for money. Anyway, what's interesting to me is you just said it, like you became part of a pastor at a church, and then it was like your hands are tied. And like at work, I think this happens all the time, especially for marketing. Like we're forced to kind of like run systems or hit targets that we don't think are the most important. Or like right now, I'm running lead generation campaigns that I know are not positive for the business, but I'm just kind of rocking with it. I'm trying to make incremental change and poke where I can, but for the most part, I'm not rocking the boat. And so anyway, just drawing a parallel between, I think, like between the two topics of exploring faith, and also like I wouldn't explore, I would have to go and leave my job. Like I wonder if for faith you need to just like Just go to the fucking temple,
Yeah.
go to a mass, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Just like go if you're curious about what other people are saying or doing or thinking and you're tired or bored of whatever
Yeah,
faith rut you're in, like go
I
shake it
think you
up a little
should,
bit, see what you think.
unless that place is, a cult.
Yeah, everybody check out the last episode where Kevin
I
joins a
mean, stay
cult.
away. If there's
Yeah,
one charismatic
February 18th.
figure who hears from God and he or she's telling you to believe everything that they say, don't run. Yeah, don't
That was a
stay
very
don't
strong
go
piece of
there.
advice,
You know
Kevin.
what I mean? They start breaking out snakes or anything like that, get the hell out of there.
Well, I think that's good enough for this episode. The clock's just ticked past the 30-minute mark. I hope everybody enjoyed it. This is the
Yeah.
second of a series of probably, I don't even know, 40 different posts like this. So if you have any thoughts or comments, let us know what they are
.com.
on the website, The Wandering Home. Is it thewanderinghome.com? A brand new website. You can go on there, leave a comment, contact us, blah, 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 all the good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the
All right, see you,
episode.
homie.
Let's peace. Peace out. All right.